Hi, today we're going to be talking about how you reference tracks and such. So I have something here that was like one of the 6 things I made to basically get into my university. So I will play it here so we can listen, and then I'll show you how to reference it in case, like if you want to make something like this genre or whatever, you can learn how to reference it. First off, you want to make sure your track is like at 0 decibels. If you're in something like Bitwig or you use like quiet stuff, you want to make sure that it's at like the 0 decibels. You want to make sure it's at its playing level for like the maximum analyzing. So that's great. Now, we basically want to establish why are you checking your, like, what are you looking for in your song? Okay, so I made this song. I know exactly how long it is, blah, blah, blah. It's 28 bars. And I know when, like, the beginning parts, so basically every 8 bars, I have intro, intense part, and then, like, intense, tense part, and then, like, a ending. So I know how the arrangement of the song is. So in terms of arrangement, you're going to want to find basically the sets of bars that separate the song sections from each other. So which means you're going to need the tempo for that. So I know I made this in 145, but sometimes you might not know the tempo of the song. So you want to look for like kind of transients and then like have the song start on that and then get like some other transients in the song to basically line up in some sort of 4-bar variable that makes sense. Probably not 4-bar, depends on the song, but you need to make sure they line up on the bars, and that's probably the tempo, as long as it's not something weird like 137, because I don't think many people are going to choose that as a tempo. So I have this as a tempo, so I can go through and say like, I want to make this track or whatever, or I want my track to be like this, so I can make it a similar arrangement now, because I know what the arrangement's like, and I can pay attention to the sort of instruments that were added per part. And what's important about this is when we actually go into the mixing analyzing, I'm going to be using FabFilter Pro L, and that's because it has like a decibel average level, which is a little more important than LUFS. Like if you're going to read LUFS, no one really does LUFS anymore as much. So LUFS was basically like, it's an average audio. It's related to like the average loudness of something over like a period of time, which can be like changed. So like when people upload for TV, it will have like negative whatever LUFS, I think it's 13 or something, is the Nordic standard, and that basically guarantees that the average loudness of what you're listening to is always going to be around that level, which means most TV shows you listen to will have that negative 13, which means you'll have consistent volumes, and there's never going to be that many times in a TV show where you're going to be like, holy crap, that's so loud. Movies are different. LUFS is not really taken into consideration in movies. You have super loud music and then super quiet everything else, and super loud scary parts like in the Foley of horror movies, and everyone's talking at room temperature and someone drops a pencil and it sounds like someone set off a nuke. So that's the situation where LUFS means shit or average decibels means shit. So we can listen to the song even muted, and we can read this graph, and it's going to create a pretty solid understanding of how the average decibels work. So it's kind of deciding that it looks like 12 might be the winner in the situation. You could always full screen to get like some crazy awesome graphs. Maybe we'll do that. And then I think we can freeze. So this was kind of all over the place, but I'm going to determine this line as the average. So I guess 8 decibels was kind of our average loudness. So if you want to make a song that's like something, you can use this to find your average loudness, like in any way, even in the compact mode, it shows you with this little bar here. So you can find your average loudness in the track, which again I said was around -8. And then you can aim to basically keep the energy of your song around that same amount of decibels. And as you notice, like as I move through parts, it changes. So like in the intro, it's staying over here. It's hard to know exactly what that is per se, but somewhere between -15 and 24. Then we hit the first section of the kind of medium aggressive part, and that's like around -12 decibels, sorta. Then at 17 bars, we'll really hit that hard stuff, and then it goes up to like a -8. And then maybe right at the end, it gets really loud, like, but we found the average loudness of this track in certain areas. So if we're making a song that's a similar genre and style, and we want our song to sound like this, it's all about picking a song that's similar to what it is you're making, because that's very important. Or picking a song that of an artist you really want. However, the genre is kind of important, because that will kind of determine the arrangement and like how loud it is at certain parts of the song. It's kind of like a genre thing as more than it is an artist thing. So we found our average volume. That's good. So that's like very important. And that's like the first step to this. Now what we can do is we can come on here and look at a FabFilter Pro Q as a spectrum equalizer. Now we can see this area here is kind of loud. This is where the violins were, and I didn't mix them in very well. I don't think I EQ'd them or anything. But we can look in here. We can see like how does the bass and the high end react? This is kind of like a really old school mastering kind of look. It's like a shape like this with the bass kind of like loud and then a dip, and then like you see that dip, and then it comes and rolls off on the top. So it's like a very old school kind of rock looking mix, and that's okay because it is kind of orchestral. So we can see in this sort of situation how loud certain root tones should be, like the root tone area, and then how loud our bass should be, and then as well as sort of how our high end is going to react to everything. Like, is it rolling off? Is it really sharp? Things like that. If you think something sounds really good and you want to make that kind of mix, say this is the best thing you've ever heard and you want to make this kind of song, then you should probably try to get your song to look like this in the master EQ as much as possible. Find those sounds that make these loud high ends, reduce them, roll them off, do what you need to do to get this sort of shape, and that's really good. The Pro Q is a really good reference tool for trying to find, like, you know, levels and the sort of energy of the song, because you can see how the frequencies are moving. So between this and the FabFilter L, you get a pretty good understanding of the mix of the song, or even the master of the song, like how the energy levels are being kept in the song and how the frequencies are being organized. So what's cool about Bitwig is if you have things like limiters and you do the track volume, it's always like in the post. I think most DAWs do this, so I can turn down my volume and I can still get accurate readings on this track. So what I can do is I can now examine the sort of side information. You can do this with the Ozone plugins as well, but I'm going to do it here by basically taking a mid cut and then moving it around. So you can make a band pass if you want. And the way you might have to do this is take two cues, have one go before with like some sort of brick wall on a low cut, or sorry, a high cut, put it over here, and then have it cut whatever it is you're not looking for. So say cut all the mono. So now when I listen over here, it's pure high end, and then I can very specifically select what I want. And listen to the side information now. You can come in here, switch that to side, switch this to mid. Listen to whole sorts of things using this little trick. You can listen to the mid and the side independently, or you can just target certain frequencies. And yeah. So that was my 3 tips to referencing tracks. Check it out with Pro Q, Pro L, and you can find all the information that you need to do most of what you need to do with a mix. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. Peace.